This is the Insta360 GO ULTRA, and it's the latest in the GO series of cameras, as the name would suggest. The GO series has won plaudits for the tiny size of the cameras, making them incredibly unobtrusive to use. They're designed not so much as action cameras, but as lifestyle cameras. They're designed to get out of the way and allow you to film things in a kind of hands-free way. But that tiny size came at a cost. Battery life wasn't quite as good as a traditional action camera, and you also had limited resolutions and frame rate as well compared with a traditional action camera. The Ultra has been designed to address many of those limitations. The battery life has been increased, the lens has been given a boost, so it now gives the same angle of view as the Ace Pro, so it can be used much more easily for POV shots. The previous camera, the GO 3S, was more limited in how wide the FOV was, so I'm glad to see that that's been addressed in the GO ULTRA. Now, as you can see, it's in what Insta360 calls the action pod. Now, what this does is it charges the camera up, but you can also use it much more like a normal action camera. It's not fully waterproof, it's splash proof. So for full waterproofing, you'll need to use the Ultra camera on its own outside of the pod. As you can see, it's very, very small indeed, even though it's slightly larger than the previous cameras. Now, when the camera is outside of the pod, this is fully waterproof. You can take this underwater, but you can also use the action pod as a remote viewer, and you can control the camera remotely as well. It's one of the things I really like about the GO series. You can put this in all kinds of weird and wonderful positions, and you don't have to worry about framing because you can use the action pod to do that. So you can get quite creative with the shots that you do with this camera, and that's kind of the whole point of it. Now, although it isn't marketed as an out-and-out action camera, it can be used for action camera duties, and I've been using it for POV on my kayak helmet, and in that kind of situation it's absolutely fantastic because it's so small and light, it's so unobtrusive. Continuous recording, you'll probably get about an hour out of this. You get more when it's mounted in the action pod, but while you can use it in the action pod, the main purpose of this whole system is that you can use this in unobtrusive situations. When it's mounted in the pod, that obviously makes it more of a kind of traditional action camera size and sort of takes away many of the benefits of having such a small camera in the first place. The good news is that when you put the Ultra into the action pod, it charges extremely quickly. Now, Insta360 say that it's about 12 minutes to get to about 80% when it's in the action pod. I found that to be about right, and what that means is that, you know, if I'm out on the water and I take a break for lunch, if I'm at one of the park and play places, at lunchtime I can just pop this camera into the action pod, and by the time I finish my lunch, it's ready to go again. Now, the GO ULTRA is slightly bigger than the previous GO series, and that's to accommodate the larger battery and some of the extra features that go into it. The Ultra can record 4K up to 60 frames per second. The previous GO series was limited to 30 frames per second, so that's good to see. There's a lot of features in this camera that have been inherited from the Ace Pro cameras as well. For example, you've got the pure video mode, which allows you to shoot in incredibly low light. You've got active HDR, and you can also interface this with Insta360's Mic Air system as well. So you can use this for vlogging with a wireless microphone, and you know, that's a really neat feature as well. One of the most notable new features about the Ultra is that it now has removable onboard storage. The previous cameras, you were limited by the built-in storage that they had, so if you were using the camera for a day, you would have to offload your footage to a laptop or to a mobile phone if you wanted to clear the camera up and free it up to shoot more footage. So you can swap out your storage if it gets full. That addresses one of the prime limitations of the previous cameras. The other thing I really like about this is that it has a tether point. Now, I always go on about tethering for action cameras when I use them on a boat because they can easily get knocked off. Now, although this isn't an out-and-out action camera, Insta360 has incorporated a rather clever tether system. You attach what I can only describe as a tether ball to the camera. I know that sounds a bit odd, but what that does, it clips into a little clip. So if you have a tether mounted to your surfboard or your kayak or whatever, you can quickly detach the camera and detach it from the tether. So not only has Insta360 added a really great tether system, it's also really thought about it, because if I mount an action camera to any kind of object, if I want to take advantage of the quick release magnetic mounts that these cameras have these days, and I've tethered it, I then have to untangle the tether, which kind of takes away the point of having the quick release system in the first place. But what Insta360 has done, they've really thought about that, and it means that you can now unclip the camera from its mount and unclip it from the tether very, very quickly. That takes a lot of hassle out of things, and I'm really thankful for that, and I hope that this gets incorporated into other action cameras in the range, and other manufacturers take note, because it's a really good system. Now, although the Ultra does have some of the features from the Ace Pro 2, including the lossless 2x zoom, I might add, it doesn't feature iLog, so this isn't a camera you're going to be using for grading, but it does have lots of different picture profiles, which kind of reflects the kind of usage it's going to be put to. You have a picture profile to make your skin look great. You have some film looks as well. You know, it's clear that this camera is still very much aimed at that kind of lifestyle market. This is not an out-and-out action camera, as I keep reiterating, but it can still be used for those functions. Now, the camera does have a few little niggles here and there, and one of the primary ones is that because you press the front of the camera to start recording, it's very easy to accidentally press it when you're removing it from a mount or taking it out of the action pod. So I do tend to end up with a load of recorded files that are a few seconds long because I've had to stop recording immediately. It's slightly annoying. I'm not really sure what the solution is, because you know you're limited in places where you can put the record button on this camera, but it is slightly annoying when you find that you've started recording accidentally. That's just something to be aware of when you're using it. Something else is when I've connected it to the wireless mic, the Mic Air system from Insta360, when they're paired up, you can turn the microphone on and the camera will power up as well. But when you power the microphone down, I've noticed that the camera stays powered up. So I don't know whether that's a bug in the current firmware that I have, but again, it's slightly annoying, because the idea is that you can start recording on the camera remotely. You could put this camera on a lamppost and you've got your microphone, you're standing a bit away from it, and you turn on your microphone and start recording, and the camera will automatically do so as well. But you would want the camera to also power down when you've stopped recording. So like I say, I don't know whether that's a bug with this camera, whether I'm doing something slightly wrong. Maybe some people who've used this camera in the comments can let me know whether I'm being a bit stupid, but that's just a niggle that I found with it. The other thing I should mention is that this camera is not compatible with the magnetic mounts and clip mounts from the previous Go series. If you already have the Go 3S and you were hoping to use the same mounts for this, you won't be able to. You'll have to buy some new ones. Now, the Go Ultra has the same 5nm AI chip that's in the Ace Pro, so that explains one reason why the image quality on this is so good. Low light performance on it is also incredibly good. It's very similar to the Ace Pro in terms of the overall image quality. I've taken this out running in extremely low light conditions, and it's coped incredibly well. Given how much it's getting jolted around, there's none of the jitter that you find on some of the other action cameras. Now, I'm really impressed by this, and I think if you're doing like a running vlog and you want the most unobtrusive camera possible, this would be a really, really good choice. You know, if you're not grading, if you're not hoping to get 10-bit color and log and all that, then you know this would make a really good solution for that, particularly given that you can incorporate it with the Mic Air wireless mic system. You know, that makes it very lightweight to carry around. You know, when I'm running, if I'm filming running, I really do want the lightest camera possible. I don't want to be carrying loads of kit, and particularly I don't want bulky kit either. I want to stay very minimalist, so this fits that bill still very well. Now, one of the other advantages of the Go Ultra over the Go 3S is the number of frame rates you have available to you. Now, it can't shoot 4K at 120 frames per second. It maxes out at 60 frames per second, as I mentioned. But in 2.7K, you can go up to 120 frames per second. And if you go down to 1080p, you can go all the way up to 240 frames per second. So if you want to choose your framing after shooting, for example, you might be going out to Instagram and then you're going out to YouTube, and you've got different aspect ratios you can use. The free frame shooting mode, and that's on all Insta360 cameras, including this one. And although it has a separate pure video mode for low light shooting, just like the Ace Pro now, you can set the Go Ultra to recognize when it's in a low light situation, and it will automatically switch in to the low light shooting mode. Now, one thing I found when I was using the Go Ultra is you do have to make sure your settings for the standalone camera are set correctly. Now, you can set it to use the last mode that you had the camera set to on the action pod, but by default it comes set to use a preset setting. You have effectively two slots. When you have the camera on its own outside of the action pod, you have two modes you can set. One for when you single press the front button, and one for when you double press it. Now, when I first used the camera, I was a little bit puzzled as to why the camera wasn't recording in the mode that I had it set to on the action pod. And that was because it was set to record a specific setting when the standalone camera was outside of the action pod. So you need to be careful that you've got the camera set to the settings you want to use when you either single press it or double press it, or simply have the camera set to use the last settings you used on the action pod. I tend to have some specific settings set up. So on a single press, I have it set to record in 24p in the action view. And then if I double press it, I sometimes have it set to do slow motion, and sometimes I have it set to use one of the linear lenses instead, so that I can get some GV style stuff. But yeah, that's something to look out for and make sure you have set up correctly, because it caught me out in the beginning. Now, if you don't have the Mic Air wireless microphone, audio on this I found is pretty good for this kind of camera. It benefits from the development of the wind reduction systems that Insta360 now puts in all of its cameras. There's a physical wind filter on the microphone itself, plus there's all that AI processing going on as well. When the wind really does get up, it's pretty hard to hear what I'm saying. In most normal situations though, the onboard audio recording of the Go Ultra is really good and suitable for most situations, as you can hear here.
You do still look a bit doggy though, wearing it on a headband while you're out running. So that's the way it goes if you want to film your adventures.
So the question is, who is the Go Ultra for? It definitely fits the bill as a lifestyle camera. It's very much a camera that does get out of your way when you want it to. But even for sort of more power users, people who are doing extensive vlogging, it's a pretty cool tool to have just in general, because it's just easy to mount and get very creative with. So I think it suits a wide variety of people, and it addresses many of the shortcomings that I found with the previous Go series of cameras. So yeah, I'm impressed with this. It kind of takes on board almost what I said in my previous Go review, in that I would be prepared to have a slightly larger camera if it meant having better battery life, more resolutions and higher frame rates. And that's exactly what Insta360's done here. So yeah, it's extremely fun to use. It's very powerful. It's got a lot of features on it. So yeah, if you like your cameras to get out of the way, the Go Ultra has a lot of compelling features on it, and certainly worth looking at if you're looking for something that's more suited to general lifestyle and simplicity of use.